Hello, my name is David. Welcome back to my channel. I'm also known as Unity Freedom. So today I have a topic that I'd like to talk about, and it is about who are you? Who is the real you? Because after ego death, a new ego is reborn. But who are you going to connect with instead of the ego? So, if you're interested to listen to what I have to say, stay tuned and I'll be back to talk more. So today, I'm going to talk about the real you. Who are you after you experience ego death? After you have let go of the selfish ego. So to recap, in the past video, I talked about the ego death, that for a time, you're being led and you're being guided by this selfish ego, this self-centered ego. And we all do. I do too. I did before. And I was guided, I was ambitious, I was always wanting to be right, never wanting to be wrong, and also I was selfish. I was thinking about specific goals I need to accomplish, as though I thought the goals are necessary or important to qualify me for some greater things. And of course, after the ego death, after I experienced the ego death, I realized that I didn't have an identity. For a split moment, I had clarity that I'm not actually the ego. I am someone who is more than the ego. So after I've experienced ego death, there was this sense of clarity that what I did before, the ambitions, like I wanted to win marathons because I ran many marathons. I trained to want to win and get into the Boston Marathon. And also I wanted to be the best technician, so I tried my best to be the best. And I'm sure that many of you tried also in the past to be the best of who you are. And there is nothing wrong with that. And there's also sometimes I heard some spiritual people that try to be the best who they are. To be kind to people, to be compassionate, to be empathetic. So all of this drive, believe it or not, has a sense also of selfishness. Because what is selfishness and self-centeredness? It is to fulfill a certain goal defined by your ego. Because the ego works this way. The ego works in order to accomplish a certain goal. Because the ego thinks that when it accomplishes a certain goal, it can qualify itself to go to heaven. And it is a very attractive goal. because don't we all want to go to heaven? And of course, the ego will define you a certain goal for you to follow and hence qualify you to go to heaven. And many people talk about this as being the automatic salvation. You follow a certain linear path, and as long as you follow this path and you accomplish the goal, you will redeem yourself and be able to go to heaven, or at least to go to some place that is better than your current circumstances. And a lot of people like that, but a lot of fanatic people also uses this, or the ego drove them to do many evil things. And in their mind, they believe what they're doing is not evil. What they're doing is justice, is works that they did for God, for at least their own God, the image of their own God. And everyone, when they're driven by their own ego, the ego will convince everyone, even me included, myself included, that the cause is just. The ego will convince you that the cause is just. And so, of course, after a very, very long time, especially for us spiritual people, we have reincarnated many, many times, thousands of years, even millions of years, for a few of us, all to satisfy a specific goal. That we have a goal, we have a target we need to meet, and every time we come back to Earth and we tried our best, and sometimes it just didn't work out. So we come back again and again and again and again until such time that we decided that we just don't want to do this anymore. And that's when you experience that sense of frustration, tension, and a sense that you couldn't accomplish what you came here to do, and you just gave up. To me, at that point in time, in my experience, when I just gave up trying to fulfill what my ego was telling me to do, I said to myself, I just gave up. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to surrender the control of what the ego puts on me so I can be free to do what I want. So when I experience the ego death, that I no longer was controlled by my ego, that I surrendered to the greater whole, I realized that there is one question that comes into my mind that I ask myself, who am I? Who am I really? I started to ask this question, which I never actually asked myself. I thought I am David. I was born Chinese, and I was born an Asian in a certain family, in a certain culture. But I never questioned the relevance of my family name, my actual name, who am I, my creed, my nationality, my skin color, and all those things. I never questioned that those things are just a cover for who I am not. I came here for a purpose, of course. All of us do. But are we human beings? Or are we more than human beings? And of course, as some old sayings goes, To be or not to be? Are you going to be human or live a human existence? Or can you be something else, which is the original you? That I realized when I started asking these questions, I came to a realization because I didn't have a strong pull anymore from the selfish ego and the self-centered ego that I had before. I realized that I am a human being with a human body, but I am not a human being. I am a spiritual being. And that was a profound revelation that I discovered, that I am a spiritual being, that I'm not bound by the limitations of people on earth, of humans on earth, where they struggled to make a living, where they struggled to make ends meet, where they believe that that's all they can do. They can't do any more. You imagine that if you're born a baby and the very beginning, when you grasp for air, the doctor and the nurses intentionally tricked you to breathe from an oxygen tube. And as you grow up, you carry this huge oxygen tank. Even though you could breathe from your lungs, you have a healthy lung, you can breathe naturally the oxygen from naturally without any apparatus, without any oxygen tank. But when you were born, someone decided that you should be breathing not from the air that we have now, but from an oxygen tank. So from the get-go, these people program you to think you have to breathe from an oxygen tank. And this baby believed that because when this baby was born, the first grasp of air came from oxygen tank. And sometimes in healthcare it does. When the baby has difficulty of breathing or needs to breathe easier, it might be put in an oxygen chamber to allow it to breathe normally. But that's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is that when you were born, when you were told that all you could breathe is from an oxygen tank, you would believe it. You would not question it because it was being told by a higher authority. And as you grow up, you bring this very heavy oxygen tank and you breathe from the oxygen tank all the time. And your life depends on you replacing the oxygen tank when it runs out. But of course, then one day, you start to question, why are you bringing this big, huge oxygen tank with you to breathe? Why are you wanting, like this kid will ask, why am I always wanting to bring this oxygen tank? Why can't I breathe normally, naturally without an oxygen tank? And then one day, when the child starts asking and questioning enough, it will then dare itself to take off the oxygen mask for a moment and see if the child can breathe naturally. And at that moment, of course, when the child took off the oxygen mask, whatever the higher authority told the child in the first place when he was younger was all a lie. Because the child discovered that he didn't have to breathe from the oxygen tank that he was told he has to. He could breathe on his own. The air has oxygen. His lungs are good. And so he started breathing gas. He started taking in air, and he realized he could breathe. He doesn't need to bring this heavy oxygen apparatus to allow him to breathe. And when he discovered that, he realized he was being told a lie. This is the same thing as when you experience that ego death. You experience that, oh, you're being told also a lie. And that you have to follow a certain culture, traits, certain ways of living in life, what society demands you to do. You were pre-programmed during childbirth up to an adult that you should do all these things that society expects you to do, including being selfish, narcissistic, and self-centered. Even though you might be a person that has none of those traits, but you were programmed when you were younger by these people to behave in a way that these people feel comfortable with. That's what they like you to act. And so when you discover that this is all a lie because you have given up the ego, because the ego will take the programming when it was a young child, and the ego will then convince the child that it should follow all these traits. It doesn't see all these traits as being wrong. It sees all these traits as being what it was programmed to behave and to follow. And so when you experience ego death, what happens is that you start to realize that you're not the you that was programmed to behave. You still know who you are as a person, but you know that this is not you. You have certain unique characteristics that is you, certain unique behaviors, and a unique way to express yourself that is you, that is uniquely you, not someone programming you to express a certain way that they want you to express. So you have a certain unique way to express yourself, the way you dress, the way you fashion your hair, and the way you speak to the public or to your friends. You have a certain unique way of expressing. And so when you experience ego death, you start to ask this question: who are you? Who are you really? And for me, when I was starting to ask these questions, I started to get insights from within, from my own heart, that I am more than a human being. I am a spiritual being. The ego is basically a vehicle for me to express in this world. But the real me is what I call the conscious you, which is me. I am the conscious you. And because I realize that I'm not a human being, but I am a spiritual being, and because I become aware of this, I reason that the conscious you is pure awareness. Because you can only realize who you are after you are awakened. Only doing that because you are purely aware of who you are. And also, when you are awakened, you have a sense of awareness that you are connected to something larger than what you are being told. You're connected, not larger like a larger government, but a larger universe, the whole, the larger whole. And then what I also experienced myself after I experienced ego death is that there is a higher sense of me, which some people call it the higher self. I just like to call it the I am presence, because it's I am presence. It's within myself. Some people like it's in heaven. But regardless of what, it is a higher self than I am. So I have the conscious you, which is who I am, which is pure awareness. And then I have the real me, which is the higher me, the higher self, which is connected fully to me, which is also pure awareness. So who you are as an individual being, when you are awakened to this awareness, now you can ask the question, what am I supposed to do? Because once you let go of the ego, whatever ambitions you have, you still have certain ambitions. You still have certain goals defined by the ego, but you're not drawn to these anymore. You don't have the drive like you did when you were selfish and self-centered and narcissistic before you were awakened. So now you realize that you are the conscious you, and you have the higher self that gives intuition. Even when you were not awakened, the higher self, your I am presence, was giving you the intuition to keep you safe, or to give you opportunities to have a better outcome if you were to make the choices based on your higher self and not your ego. So we all have this intuition, this guidance, gut feeling when we were consumed by the ego. But after we experience ego death and we have been reborn, we, the conscious you, have more autonomy. And I'm not really controlled by the ego. I can start to develop a certain discernment based on vibration, because I also noticed another thing. I don't know if you noticed it, but when I was awakened, I started to realize I can sense vibrational energies. I can sense certain vibrational energies from very bad people with bad intentions, evil intentions, and their vibrations are lower. And then I can sense also vibrations from people who have good intentions. They're kind, they have no desire to hurt you or take advantage of you. They really want to help you. And you can sense that vibration is higher than those who want to scam you or hurt you. And that's another thing, that you're not influenced by the ego. Even though your ego will try to interpret this with its own interpretation, the conscious you, because you are pure awareness, you are aware that you don't have just one information or two information from a few sources. You can also discern the vibration of another person. And then you form a choice. You create a choice, you make a choice based on the information you have, and then you move forward from there. So let me give you an example, because it can be quite complicated. So I guess example would be me. When I had that awakening more than 10 years ago, I was following a certain Asian organization, a an Asian spiritual organization. And first, I was gravitated to this guru, this master. He has a sense of vibration that I sensed that, okay, I like to follow this person. It's sort of like the Dalai Lama as well. I have also a sense of attunement or discernment that he also have a higher vibration. But when I saw this Asian master, I decided that, hey, let's follow this master. Maybe he has something to teach. Because when I was awakened, I didn't have a clue what to do. I kind of like stumble along because it's a new experience for me and I didn't know what to do. And of course, this Asian master was there and I saw maybe he can help me. And so for a couple of years, I followed him. I listened to him. And I realized that, oh, he is really good. So I created him as the ultimate teacher. He's wise, he has good wisdom, and I was glued to him. And I didn't want to listen to what other people told me, because other people, including my students, because I was then a teacher, an instructor for this Asian spiritual organization too. And some of my students were commenting that your master is actually a person who controls people. It's not a good person. And I realized, yeah, but I think you are lying. I didn't believe what my students were telling me. So for a long time, I followed this master, and everybody was telling me that you're following some kind of cult. And he is like a cult leader. But one day, when we came back from the conference, and he was driving, because I believe he has totally awakened. He achieved mastery of mind over matter, because he could do many of these tricks, this physical tricks, manifestation, that I thought, wow, he's the master. I certainly couldn't do many of the things that he could do. So I totally believed that he was the master. And it was just one day, the day where we came back from the conference, we were driving. He was driving in one car, and I was driving in my own car. And then he said that because he was blessed, he wouldn't have an accident. And he was challenging me that he would drive to the border and cross the border sooner than me. I didn't know why he would challenge me that. He would challenge me to this. But anyways, I got a voice within me telling me, yeah, just let him race, let him drive fast. You will see soon who he truly is. This voice was within me. It was telling me that he's going to get into an accident. And I will see the true nature, the true reality of who he truly is. And of course, I was so loyal to him. He was, after all, my master, my guru. He knows it all. So I believe that he shouldn't experience any of these things. So I almost closely want to tell him that if you continue to do this, you might get into an accident. But Of course, he believed that he is the chosen one, he's blessed by God. Even if he drives fast, he wouldn't have an accident. And so, again, this voice was telling me, don't worry about it, David, don't worry. You don't have to tell him. You will see soon who he truly is. The third time that this small voice was telling me that don't worry, you will see who he is at night when he crashed his car. In which he did, actually. He was way ahead of me. And then I got a phone call. As I was almost close to crossing the border, I got a phone call from him. And he was calling me. He called me and told me that he got into an accident. His car went into the ditch. And I went and saw his car. So I stopped and asked him, are you okay? And for the first time, this spiritual guru, this calm, confident, and very caring, kind spiritual guru turned into someone I didn't even recognize. He was scared, he was shocked, and he was very demanding, selfish and demanding that I should drive him to the hotel and I should pay for his stay. And I realized, why am I having to do all this? I thought you were blessed by God. I thought you'd never get into an accident. And you'll always be able to manifest many things. You should be able to manifest things. You can call someone, get into the hotel without me helping you. Because that's what you claim. You can manifest many things without anyone's help. So at that point in time, I realized he's not really special. He's just a human being, just like me. When you got into an accident, you need help, just like everyone else. So I realized he wasn't really special. And it was that point that I woke up. I saw, why am I worshiping this person? Why am I a total slave to this person? And then a few years later, I realized why I was worshiping him. It wasn't me that was worshiping him. I first, when I woke up from my ego death, I saw him as someone, as an example of someone who is radiating light. So there are people out there who have a higher level of consciousness than I did. And how I sensed it is that when you have a higher level of consciousness, you are radiating more light. And when you are able to discern, like sense the vibration of a person, when you're awakened, you have a tendency of being able to see someone with higher level of consciousness. And then, of course, that is the way for you to awaken and raise yourself up to his level. And then from there, you meet other people who also have a higher level of consciousness, radiating even more light, and then you see his example and you follow his example to help you resolve whatever you need to resolve in your psychology, and you go up higher. So the psychology that I needed to resolve for me to go higher was worshiping someone, was being a slave, not questioning who he truly is and who I am, but blindly worshiping. But this is just a facet of my ego. There is the active ego and there is the passive ego. So the active ego is someone like my master who wants to convert everyone, who uses his spiritual light and his spiritual attainment And he thinks that in order, his mission, his goal, or at least his ego's goal, is to try to convert everyone to his ideals, to his beliefs. Because the ego believes that, okay, if I do convert everyone, then I must be doing something good. But at the time, I have this ego that I don't want to make any choices. I don't want to make any decisions because, well, when you awaken, what choice do you have? Like, what do I want to do? I need someone to tell me what to do. And of course, when I need someone to tell me what to do, I attract someone who will tell me what to do. And that was the guru that told me what to do. Be a slave. Oh, do this, or do that, and you will be saved. Salvation is by doing what I told you to do. And I wasn't awakened to this type of ego until I saw him for who he truly is. My students already knew, but I didn't know. I knew I was awakened to this when he crashed his car. If he didn't crash his car, I would be his student to this day. I wouldn't be making this video. I wouldn't realize that I was a follower, that I was someone who only follows someone because I don't want to make choices. I don't want to make decisions. I want him to make decisions for me. And that's how you also attract a narcissist in your life. Because what do narcissists do? They tell you what to do. Oh, you do all these things for me, you will receive my love. You will receive my attention. But there are also narcissists out there, spiritual gurus, that want to control you. Because they see in you that you don't want to make any choices. If you follow me, if they realize you follow that kind of guru, then they realize you're not making the choice not to follow that kind of guru. So that's what happens if you're not aware of your own ego. Even though the ego is now not selfish and not self-centered, but it still has a goal that it wants to fulfill. This goal is, the ego's goal is to want to make it perfect so it can win favors with God. Hey God, I'm the ego here. I'm the ego acting through this person here, this conscious you. Look at me. I'm making myself perfect. I'm making myself perfect in the image of God. God, why can't you accept me? I am perfect. But you see, only the conscious you and the higher self, the I am presence, were both created by God in heaven. But the ego is created on earth. Like the old saying goes, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And the ego can only stay on earth. And when we leave, we have to leave the ego behind. So when you are the conscious you, yourself, you have pure self-awareness. You can see if you're willing to see in yourself. Because every single time you go out there and you serve the whole, it's not really only serving the whole. The ego sees serving the whole is to serve itself, to benefit itself. So it will choose and convince you to do work that benefits itself, not you, not the conscious you. But your higher self can also provide guidance for you. And you have this universal mind, or the Christ mind, which is the greater whole, that gives you advice how you can also walk the path to serve the whole. But you are walking the path to greater awareness. Just like the voice that told me, oh, you don't need to tell your guru, your master, that he's going to be in a car crash. It might sound harsh, it might sound non-compassionate not to tell a person that that person is going to be in a car crash. But that little voice was telling me that the only way for me to learn that I have this ego that don't want to make any choices, even though the guru is using me. I need to see with my own eyes, that the guru, my master, was a fake master. And that I don't have to follow him. He is just an example for me to realize my own unresolved psychology, which is I was following my own ego that is unwilling to make choices, is only willing to listen to someone else to define the choices for me, to tell me what to do. And I need to grow out of that. But how do you tell a person that you have to make a choice? Unless you're put in a situation where you realize that you are being used as a slave, as someone being controlled. You are being abused and exploited by someone who pretends himself to be a spiritual guru. Now, when you are actually at the precipice of discovering or uncovering this, my guru master his ego started to notice the change in me, meaning that I'm starting to realize I'm being used. And of course, the guru master's ego realized that it no longer can push my buttons. When the ego of someone else realizes that it no longer can push your buttons, it starts to get nervous. It will start to criticize you, put you down. Say, why don't you, in terms of, let's say, a relationship, it can go down like this. Oh, you no longer love me anymore? You no longer like me anymore? Oh, David, you've changed. But it's really the ego telling you that you've changed. You will truly change, but you're no longer being controlled easily by someone else. You're no longer being used as someone's convenience. And that's the reason is that the conscious you're conscious that you can see, oh, you're being used, or you're being exploited, or being lied to. And this is the beauty of the conscious you when you're awakened, that when we are conscious and when you're connected to the greater mind and the I am presence, your higher self, when you're connected to that whole, you get more knowledge, wisdom from higher up, higher above. And because now you're not in a closed system and you're in the open system, when someone tries to control you, you look at it in a way that it's a learning opportunity. Because why am I tied to this master? There's a learning opportunity for me that why I am with this person. But when I overcame the unresolved psychology, that I don't have to listen to his command, I don't have to have him to make all the choices for me. I can make my own choices. That's when the person loses control over you. And that's when I woke up and I realized, hey, this master was controlling me. And my students were right. My students realized that this master likes to control people, subtle controls on people. But you only let someone control you when you do not realize that it's your ego that someone is manipulating you from. But once you see the unresolved psychology, consciously see the unresolved psychology and why you allow this ego to control you, then you can be free. You can be free. Even though you still have that ego to express yourself, but the ego no longer controls you. You can be free to express to anyone that, hey, look, you're trying to control me, or you're trying to manipulate me. You can even say it out loud to the person who's doing the controlling. Because the ego likes nothing more to control people, to control the situation, conditions, events. Because that's how the ego of a person feels safe. But the conscious you, the real you, the authentic you don't need to control anyone. Why would you need to control everyone to make yourself free and peaceful and joyful, to feel safe? So you don't have to. All right, that's all I have to say for now. So I thank you for listening to my talk. And as always, please like my video and please subscribe to my video if you can. Until then, I thank you for having the patience to listen to my talks. Until next time, this is David saying goodbye.